Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I do truly appreciate it. And I know what you want to know. I know the questions that you're asking before you even ask them. And if you say, I wasn't going to ask that, I would say, you just didn't know you were going to ask it yet. The answer to the question is Raphael. Well, hello. Thanks for joining me today. I do truly appreciate it. I got a book in the mailbox. It's in a box, and I got to get that mother out. This is a book that I did not order, although I did kind of pay for it. See, there's a thing called Patreon. Ever hear of it? And there's a fellow by the name of Brian James Freeman. And if you haven't heard of him, I feel sorry for you, and I'm going to give you a little bit of news. This is a great fella. He owns a publishing company called Lividian Publications. I recommend you do. Check them out. They make some great books. I've bought a bunch. I'm a big fan. High quality, fair price, good stuff. But Brian James Freeman, who owns Lividian Publications, has a Patreon account. And I don't know much about Patreon accounts, but I know you sign up, you pay a certain amount every month, or you pay a fee every year, and then they'll give you some benefits. Typically, Brian James Freeman's got a good one going on. All these different tiers, I think, starting at $5 a month, up to whatever, bunches of dollars a month. And I signed up for one called the Brian James Freeman Limited Edition tier. I don't know, I think something like that. And it was $20 a month or $200 a year. So I signed up, and I got all kind of amazing stuff. And I said, wow, I got to make sure I stay here, or at least stay here or go up. And when the time came to pay that bill, I decided I'm a little bit cheap, but I'll stay where I'm at. So I renewed again, and I've been getting all kind of cool stuff. But one of the things that he sent me is this one right here. And I want to open it up and take a look, because I'm in the same position as you are, except I've got the book in my hand and I own it. Is I don't really know much about it. Maybe you're not in that position, but I'm in that position. So I'm opening this thing up. I don't really know much of what to expect, but I'm about to find out. And so are you if you stick around. And if you don't stick around, then you won't find out. Not from me anyway, unless you come back. But Brian James Freeman sends these books in a box. This is a book that is being well taken care of. You see, it's in this stiff, good quality cardboard box, but it's also in form-fitted foam, like a vault with a cap sitting on there. And there it is. So great stuff. This is a guy that has learned a lot of lessons, sometimes the hard way, and sometimes from other people learning things the hard way. Sometimes you can learn what not to do from people that you work with or work for. And I can tell you, Brian James Freeman has learned some lessons, and he's doing an unbelievable job with his own business. And we won't get into anything else but that. So this is Patreon Stories, Volume 3, Brian James Freeman. And it's wrapped in shrink wrap, and you can see my copy is number 122. And we're going to find out how many of them there are in just a minute. But I got to get this plastic off. A lot of publishers wrap books in this tight plastic, and a couple of things here. Some collectors keep these books in this tight plastic, figuring, hey, this is all original, unopened, shrink wrapped, all that kind of stuff, makes it more valuable. To them, it makes it more special, sealed. But then the internet tells us leaving books wrapped in plastic is bad. It's bad. And some folks will say, hey, it helps to promote foxing by trapping moisture. And that may be true. I've had books that were wrapped in shrink wrap for many, many years, probably 15 years, and they weren't foxed or anything from moisture. And I live in Florida. It's humid here. But so that didn't happen to me. But what did happen to me is one of them that I opened up after years. I opened it up, took the shrink wrap off, and I found out it was messed up. The signature page wasn't in there. It wasn't from these guys. It was from somebody else, but it was missing the signature page on a signed limited edition. That ain't good. You wouldn't know that unless you opened it up. The other problem with a shrink wrap is it really stresses people out, because I take some sharp instrument and I get it right there just millimeters away from a precious, prized, collectible edition. But I've got a secret. I don't sweat it in the least. I got a secret. I'm going to tell you what that secret is. The secret is cut the plastic, not the book. There you go. That's my secret. Don't tell anybody. I mean, this is like kung fu. You bring this kung fu, you teach it to people, you tell them to keep it to themselves. They go telling everybody else about it, and then before you know it, you're no better than they are. I think I remember reading about Bruce Lee being in trouble for teaching some folks kung fu that they didn't think they should be teaching kung fu too. But here it is. Here is our cover artwork. Just looks too sweet. And I'm also excited about this because of who this illustrator is. One of my absolute favorite illustrators, walking God's green earth. And that illustrator right here is a fellow by the name of Francois Valancourt. Right there, baby. That's right. Francois Valancourt, one of my absolute favorite illustrators. I pretty much say if Francois Valancourt is illustrating a book, I got to take a good hard look at that book. And I bought books before, judging simply by the cover and the interior illustrations and stuff like that, because Francois Valancourt did amazing work. There's a couple books right here I bought from SST. I bought The Only Good Indians and Mongrels. Swear to God, don't laugh at me. Swear, I bought those books because of the cover dust jacket artwork. I felt like I had to have them. And SST Publications prices were low enough that I had to get them. Turned out to be great books, but I bought them because they were so beautiful. I judge a book by the cover sometimes. Now, beyond that, amazing dust jacket artwork from an amazing illustrator. Take a look at the quality materials used here. This is a sort of a cloth-bound book with hot foil stamping on the front cover and on the spine. And then let's take a look right here at some other features on this book. Smith's sewn binding. Can you see that? Quality binding. And then additionally, a built-in ribbon page marker. So this is a book that they're just handing out to people, just sending them. They throw them in boxes and send them out to people that don't even ask for them because they are Patreon subscribers. So yeah, ultimately you do pay for it. But I'm getting these books, such quality. It would be so easy to say, okay, thank you for being a loyal subscriber. I'm going to send you a book and then send something that's cheaply made as possible out to these people, and they'll get it and they'll say, oh, cool, here's a book. Awesome. But they're putting in the effort, Brian James Freeman, to make this stuff look good. And here is our signature page. Mine is copy number 122, limited to 500 numbered copies. And it is signed by one of my absolute favorite publishers, as well as one of my absolute favorite illustrators on this beautiful signature page with artwork by Francois Valancourt. Some of the other things I don't know that we're going to find out together is what does Patreon stories consist of? Volume 3, Brian James Freeman. And this is what I'm going to look for. So I'm looking for the table of contents to see what we have in here. We have our introduction. We have a story called The River Town, An Unusual Proposition for a Mountain Man, The Sniper by Richard Chismar. So it's come to this. Lost Echoes, Volume 1, Lost Echoes, Volume 2, Lost Echoes, Volume 3, Lost Echoes, Pulled into Darkness, Lost Echoes, Not Without Regrets, Pop Pop. You Are Released by Joe Hill. What's in a Name by Bev Vincent. Doing Dirty Work, The Hired Gun, and a thank you to my Patreon supporters. So what we have here, if I could explain it without being too incorrect, is a collection of the Lividian Publications, small books, small things that they've released over the year with some additional things. So a lot of the stuff in here has been sent out over the year or two, or maybe 3, I don't know. But a lot of these things have been sent out in chapbook form, signed limited editions with artwork and all that kind of stuff. I've showed you some of them. And now we get that stuff bundled into a big, nice, or truly nice hardcover book, signed limited edition, signed by the artist, built-in ribbon page marker, and I'm just flipping through here to see what all is inside. A great thing to have show up in the mailbox for me, and I do like it. So I'm looking through here just to show you some of the stuff that is within. And this is the paper feels good, so it doesn't feel like cheap junk. And I'm getting these interior illustrations, great dust jacket artwork. Now, one of the things that this bothers me about this is I have now Patreon Stories Volume 3. To me, what that means is I don't have Patreon Stories or Patreon Stories Volume 2. So some of you look at a glass as half full, some of you look at a glass as half empty, and then some of you look at a glass as just piss. But however you look at the glass, I got me a book in the mailbox, and it is so cool. I just want to go through here and show you some more of this artwork. A lot of it is the stuff that was in the original work. And What's in a Name? What's in a Name was a cool concept. It was a chapbook as well as a collection of postcards by, I think it was multiple illustrators. No, it was all by Francois Valancourt, I think. And it was taking Stephen King novels, coming up with a different name that would associate with the story, as well as dust jacket or cover artwork for it, and putting that in a chapbook. And it was really neat and very popular. A lot of Stephen King fans tried very hard to get themselves a copy, and it went over really well. So I'll show you some of that stuff that's in here. Now, in that chapbook, I believe they were color illustrations, but putting so many illustrations in a book like this has to be costly. I'm not a business expert, but I do know you got to be careful when you're spending money. It costs a lot of money to fill a book full of color illustrations, but to see them all in here represented, I just skipped through a bunch of them. I'm just going to show you some of them. To see them all represented here is really neat, really cool, and it makes it special. To me, seeing illustrations inside of a book makes it special. And this is an illustrated book, and I've flipped through so many interior illustrations in here, and that's a Brian James Freeman story, Doing Dirty Work. I think. If I'm wrong, just be kind. You can tell me I'm wrong, but you don't got to spit all over me or anything like that. But really good stuff. I like this book. It's a nice thing to get in the mailbox. It's a cool deal. Now I just got to go find Patreon Stories Volume 1 and 2 and then stay on the Patreon subscriber list so I can get Patreon Stories Volume 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and Volume 9. Of course, you got to get Volume 10, special deal, 10th anniversary, whatever it might be. Cool stuff here. But this is Patreon Stories by Brian James Freeman from Lividian Publications. Check out Brian James Freeman's Patreon account. It's well worth it. I've gotten far more out of it than I've invested into it, and that's a fact. Now that I'm done telling facts, I can think of no more lies to tell, so thank you for your time. I do truly appreciate it. C'est la vie, baby. Doo-doo. You were not brought into this world to get it.